Hey there, everyone. Spiritual Lessons here. And I thought about another thing to talk about on this channel. Wow. Newsflash. Anyway, what did I think about this time? So I got to thinking about how I started in magic, and that while I'm on my vacation, that I did want to start doing a few rituals, which I do plan to do sometime before the week's end. And just the nostalgia of how it feels, to think about doing a ritual again brings back memories and the feelings that I had when I first started. So therefore, I got to thinking, how would I address someone now who is just beginning their spiritual journey into magic and mysticism? Someone who's not really sure if they should be partaking in that path, even if they feel a connection to it. Most likely nerves due to doing a ritual. And I got to thinking how I felt when I first started. And I've told the story quite a few times on this channel, and I'm going to tell it again. For the beginners, the new people who may come across my video. So, as I've said before, that I grew up in a Christian household. My dad tried to get us to go to church every Sunday, even though me and my sister were never really into the whole Christian idea. We never were 100% Christian, if any percent. And eventually, due to my dad's schedule, we stopped going, and I was like, thank God. Ironically, thank God. So, later down the line in high school, I started delving into different religions and spiritual paths to see if there was one that I actually did click with. And I kept researching and researching, and even though I didn't find one that was quite up my alley, I did find a few that were close, like Wicca, witchcraft. I just felt a connection to it. And as I delved deeper into research and about people's experiences, what did they encounter, what one could expect if they do a ritual, and I just kept going and going about how to work with energy in the body, how to hair. Anyway, how do you deal with the entities and spirits you were trying to call without causing any mischief? And I kept writing down notes, and I kept practicing. Eventually, I got to the time where, I must do a ritual. I must. It was like I was being called to by a higher power. I can't explain it any more than that. Is that, I felt like something was pulling me towards that area. But at the back of my mind, I kept thinking, what my dad kept saying whenever I talked about the subject, when I talked about spirituality, and he's like, don't be summoning no demons in this house. God doesn't like magic. If you practice magic, you're a sinner. It comes from the devil. If you do it, you're going to get cursed. You're going to get haunted. You're going to get possessed. Yada, yada, yada. He pulled out all the stops to get me to try and not go down that path, given his extreme Christian conditioning. And for a time, especially when I was younger, you believe a lot of stuff when you're younger. I did believe it, and I was so afraid that all those things were going to come true if I did a ritual. But after some time, after going over my notes and all the practice that I had received over time, that I had gotten in over time, I had really come into my own when it comes to moving energy in the body, understanding more about what spiritualism was and how to properly work with it in the body and in the environment too. Eventually I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And even though I was nervous in the back of my mind, I was. And the fact was, I had never done a ritual before. I had only received, like, I've gone online and hear how people did theirs, and I was like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? And so how did I get past my parents knowing how they are? How did I do a ritual in the house? Well, I had actually begun meditating quite a bit of time, and I would go down the basement. I would shut off all the lights, only have like a candle or two. And, I would just meditate. And over time, they had gotten used to that regimen. So one night, I told them that I was going to go downstairs to meditate. And they were like, okay. So I took a small box. Because back then, I didn't have a whole lot of spiritual items as I do now. So I went downstairs. And I didn't have an altar table. I didn't have any necessarily table or tray to use to mimic an altar. So what I did was there were a lot of plastic totes on the ground, and the basement wasn't very organized. So I had to pull together what I could. So I took 2 long plastic totes, and I put them side by side with a bit of a space in the middle for one extra one in the front. So I had 2 in the side of me and 1 in the front sideways. Then I took out the items that I brought downstairs. So I had a conch shell, and I've showed you guys the conch shell that I still use today for magic. I had 1 blue geode, 1 quartz crystal, and I think it was the only quartz crystal I had at the time. It was a really big one. Incense, and about 2 to 3 candles, and that was it. That's all I had. I literally didn't have anything else to use for the ritual. I didn't even know if there was anything else to use. I was so inexperienced. And so I took a deep breath. I shut off all the lights, lit the candles and the incense. I closed my eyes, and I just tried to hear the silence. I tried to hear just the environment around me. Calm my mind, not think about anything else. I wasn't thinking. I was going to school at the time, so I was trying not to think about that. I was trying not to think about like what the next day was going to bring. I was not thinking about anything. Just silence for a little bit. And I was doing the deep breathing exercises. I was breathe in, hold, then breathe out. And I kept doing that until I felt calm. And then I began. And the fact was that I was so nervous about calling upon an actually established deity for fear that I would do it wrong and something bad would happen, that I created my own deities, actually. And surprisingly, the first time, which I had prayed to these deities prior to this, but I had never done a ritual to them. So I called upon all the deities that I had created, and I asked them to come to the ritual. And in no time, there was no one else in the basement with me, nobody. Yeah, I could feel presences around me, like more than one person. I was so afraid that my dad was going to come downstairs and catch me doing this, so I quickly turned around, and there was no one there. And I was like, oh. But I could feel like there was a group of people around me. And I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel scared. But I could actually physically feel it. Like eyes were on me. And I was looking around. And the flames from the candle were making the light shine on the walls. And there were dancing, almost looked like shadows moving. And, it could have been a trick of the light, but I swear some of them looked human. And that's when I knew that they were there. And I felt calm. And it's like all of a sudden an instinct took over, It's like I suddenly realized that I was doing this right. I know how to do it. I've always known how to do it. And it baffled me that I just suddenly knew this. Like, it was like second nature. So I was like, thank you. I can feel your presence, but, thank you for coming to this ritual. And I asked them for guidance. I asked them to guide me. And I spent not too much time talking to them. In fact, I do have on this channel the first ritual that I ever filmed, where I showed people how I conducted myself in a ritual. And surprisingly, it was actually the second ritual. So I'm talking about the first ritual I ever did, which I did not put on camera. The one I did put on camera was actually the second ritual that I've ever done. So if you can find that on this channel, my very first altar ritual. And I could feel them listening. I could feel the beings listening to me. And it astounded me that, despite praying to them a few times only, that it felt like I could feel their presence. I could feel them. And as I asked them questions, not only could it feel like I heard them in my mind, but the candles, the candle was starting to go straight up. And just, a still flame. And whenever I asked them a question and I said, can you hear me? The flame went like this. And then I said, do you come in peace? Did it again. And meanwhile, when I'm not asking a question, the candle's straight up. And this goes for all the candles, which I had like 2 or 3. And then by the end of the ritual, when I had said everything that I needed to say, I said, thank you for coming to this altar ritual. I hereby conclude it by blowing out these candles. And my own little belief, where I talked about, I did mention that I did try to start my own little religion called Shanuin. The belief was that to end a ceremony, you blow out the candles as like a one last offering to the gods, as like a parting gift. Because the energies that are fleeting from the smoke, as well as the sense that they get from it, was like a peace offering. Go in peace, And when I concluded the ritual, I actually was sat in darkness for like 5 to 10 minutes. And one by one, I could feel them all go away. And I'm sitting in darkness here. And I could feel the presences just leave. And just like that, it's like, wow, that was pretty good. That didn't go anything like I thought it would. And that's when I got the confidence. So, for those of you who are worried about going through this for your first time, go with your instinct. Yeah, do your research. There are plenty of YouTube channels with people who know how to do this stuff, and mine included. I'm here to help. And also, Google. There was a lot of websites that I used to go to. I would put them in the comments section, the description section. But unfortunately, a lot of them have been deleted by now because this was back in high school, which was some years ago. Otherwise, I would put them in. But the thing is, inherently, if this is calling to you, you know what to do. It's just your nerves are getting to you. Outside forces are getting to you. Go with your gut instinct. If something doesn't feel right, it probably means it's not. And if something feels right, then it probably means it is. Don't rush it. And don't push it. If you're not ready for something, don't do it. If you are not sure about something, then probably wait until you are very sure. Also, you have to make sure that you know the that you have the proper maturity to deal with a situation like this. Because technically, if you know what you're doing, you should not have any issues. However, not all energies, but some energies can be very ticked off if you do not show them the proper respect, and can lash out at you. So it's always good to come in with the proper mindset and proper maturity, because two things could happen if you don't. One of which may be more likely, depending on the spirit, is that nothing will happen. The energies will not interact with you, and nothing will happen. You will not get what you want, and you might forego any further relationship from this deity until you are mature enough to handle it. Or the spirits could lash out and either take what you're asking of them and make it way worse, or lash out you in person and just fuck your life up. There are deities that can do that. Have I dealt with these? No, because I've always had the mature sense to deal with them on a knowing basis. Almost like how you would greet a good friend or a family member. Now, if you're a person who is like, wow, I'm going to do a Ouija board and I'm just going to call up the spirits, ha ha ha, we're going to call Casper, ha ha. You're not ready yet. Also, if you're going into it expecting things to be flying around the room, hear voices in your ear, just have all kinds of specters around you, not the right mindset. You gotta have realistic expectations. And you have to show the deities proper respect, because even though they're higher beings, they are people too. So show them the proper respect, and they will show you proper respect. Much like Sobek. I was nervous about actually doing a ritual to Sobek because I heard that he is very volatile and that he can lash out if he feels that he is not being respected. Considering that his spirit animal is the crocodile, no wonder. But I have done physical and astral rituals to him, and I have showed him the utmost respect, and he has rewarded me for it. It's actually a pretty nice experience with him if you show him the proper respect. Which, that's all I ever want to give these spirits. The proper respect. So, that's what I would say. Just do your research. Don't rush anything. Make sure that you have the maturity and proper mindset in order to do this. And you will be rewarded. If you have any questions, please put it down in the comment section down below, and I will get back to you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell button so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And please follow me on Twitter. Have a great day, everyone. Blessed be.